My name is Ian Zabarte. I am the principal man of the Western Bands of the Shoshone Nation of Indians. I'm also the secretary for the Native Community Action Council, a organization that was founded in 1994 to address nuclear issues that are impacting the Western Bands of the Shoshone Nation of Indians. I graduated from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas in 2001 with a degree in communication. I use my education every day on nuclear issues, and I'm here to help explain what the problems are in thinking that nuclear is a solution. Nuclear is not a solution from the experience of the Western Bands of the Shoshone Nation of Indians. Our position is that the enduring purpose of nuclear technology is the production of weapons of mass destruction, and the impacts from that have long-lived effects that my people will be feeling for a long time.
What about the perception of Native people about the other energies? If nuclear is no solution, what about solar and wind farms like here?
There are ways to live in balance and harmony with the earth, and there are ways not to. And wind and solar are closer to the earth than the creation of nuclear materials that never existed before on the planet. And that's what we're doing with nuclear technology. We're producing materials that never existed before on the planet. Every step in the nuclear chain emits CO2. Even the actual fissioning in the reactors releases carbon-14. So we need to be aware of those things. Solar and wind are certainly preferable to nuclear technology. A good example is terrorism. The terrorists would find a nuclear reactor a vulnerable target with the potential for large release of radioactive material. If a terrorist, for example, took an aircraft and flew it into a windmill, essentially you'd have a dead terrorist and one broken windmill. If they did the same to a wind farm, a solar farm, it'd be the same situation. But with a nuclear reactor, it could be a catastrophe with unknown consequence. So certainly from the standpoint of terrorist attack, solar and wind are preferable, as well as we see what happened in situations where the electric power was cut off in Fukushima, where the cooling pumps didn't operate, and we had the meltdown at those reactors, and those are ongoing events. So I think the catastrophe is certainly something we want to avoid, and this is where nuclear is not a solution. It is the most costly way to fail at climate change. We can't build reactors fast enough. And as I mentioned, the enduring purpose of nuclear technology is the production of weapons of mass destruction. The United States is proposing small modular reactors as the way to power our future. Unfortunately, the purpose there is to produce reactor designs for nuclear subs, and using Native Americans as an excuse to do that, saying that Native Americans could use these in isolated communities. No, the purpose of saying that is so that the nuclear industry would have the economies of scale to produce the small modular reactors that we reject. We reject that. So I was involved in doing two things here regionally in southern Nevada. I was the environmental director for the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and when I went there in 2008, the coal-fired power plant, Reed Gardner, was polluting the reservation. I was 400 yards away, living in the community where the Moapa Band of Paiutes had lived for nearly 40 years, with that coal-fired power plant pumping out CO2, pumping out mercury, and what most people don't understand is that the coal-fired power plant would burn the coal, that coal would burn, and the uranium in the coal would be condensed into the coal ash. That is called, at that point, technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive material. That material was put in a landfill 600 yards from the reservation, and that would blow into the community, into people's homes, and potentially into their food and be ingested into their lungs. And that's why technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive material is dangerous. Western coal has the highest concentration of uranium, and the other forms of technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive material include fracking. It includes uranium mining. The tailings themselves have now been technologically enhanced and put into the mounds. The tailings are left behind after the high-grade ore is taken and used in the manufacture of fuel rods, used in the manufacture of other nuclear materials. So uranium in the ground is now being brought up through all of these activities: coal mining, fracking. Even in our water systems in California, the schools are pulling out a pound of uranium out of the water system in Fresno. You should take a look at some of these things. Nuclear is everywhere. Yes. Nuclear is natural. Yes. And we are creating complications to our own health by bringing it up to the surface. Oil field workers. The oil industry is known since 1904. These industries are very messy, and the legacy is not well understood. In some parts of this country, such as the Navajo Nation, they are dealing with thousands of uranium mines that are not reclaimed and that are open and near communities. Just on the Little Colorado, near the rim of the Grand Canyon, there's uranium mines, and that's going in to the drinking water of tens of millions of people in Nevada and Los Angeles and downriver all the way to Mexico, and that water keeps going. And those are things to be aware of. We need to change our direction. I was the environmental director on the Moapa River Indian Reservation. My primary purpose there was to deal with the coal-fired power plant, the Reed Gardner site operated by NV Energy. It was 4 boilers, 650 megawatt of power that supplied energy to California's Department of Water Resources for the canal systems. It provided energy to other places, including Las Vegas, with some of those boilers. The facility had been running for about 40 years, polluting the lands of the Southern Paiute. The Reed Gardner site was also the number 1 contributor to regional haze in the Grand Canyon. We were able to shut the power plant down by demonstrating that the Moapa Band of Paiutes were vulnerable to the radiation in the coal ash, which is technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive material. The coal ash was affecting the community and being blown into the community, potentially increasing the risk of exposure to radiation for the Moapa Band of Paiutes. The tribe had already, as a downwinder like the Shoshone, experienced fallout from nuclear weapons testing. And because of that past exposure, Native Americans, including the Moapa Band of Paiutes, cannot endure any increased burden of risk from any source, including coal ash. The 2005 Biological Effects of Ionizing Radiation, the BEER 7 report, was the first time any U.S. agency stated that there's no minimum threshold for radiation carcinogenesis, cancer, and they specifically rejected hormesis, that there's some benefit to radiation exposure. So we use that as the basis for communicating to the United States government and to NV Energy that the power plant is increasing the risk involuntarily of the Native people, and we were able to use that to shut the power plant down, as well as demonstrate that solar, the Moapa Band of Paiutes developed the K-Roads which is now the first solar Moapa project, which is 2.2 million panels up to 350 megawatt of utility scale photovoltaic solar. And these two demonstrating how bad it is because of radiation exposure and showing NV Energy leadership on the right way to go, we were able to close down the Reed Gardner power plant. And we had help from Sierra Club that helped magnify the voice of the tribe to do that. So that's good work. I try to use my degree, and I've used my degree every day, and even right now, I hope.
There are so many politicians that think that Nevada is like a white blank canvas, and they think that we can cover it with solar farms and things like that. You're an expert of what is Nevada about, and I don't know if you can tell us what it will be the best areas if we have to develop these new energies, renewable energies.
Well, most of the Great Basin, which is called Nevada, is Western Shoshone property under treaty, the Treaty of Ruby Valley in 1863. That is the basis for the Shoshone relationship with the United States. The United States claims that based on the Bible, and this is what the United States Supreme Court uses in its decisions of Native Americans, that based on the doctrine of discovery, the United States has absolute title and ultimate dominion. That is a fantasy from the point of the Western Shoshone people, because our relationship with the United States is based on the Treaty of Ruby Valley and our relationship to the Creator, not the Bible. Okay, so that's where we start. And when we look at the Great Basin, our people have lived here for 10,000 years before the Common Era. And in our country, we have the oldest life on the planet. We have creosote, we call it yatame. It's all over our Mojave Desert. It's 11,700-year-old clone. We have the bristlecone pines, the other side of Death Valley, Shoshone country. Our community at Furnace Creek is the Timber Shoshone. At the north end of Death Valley, we have the bristlecone pine. These trees individually are 6,800-year-old trees. Then we have the Pando, which is quaking aspen. It's the white stalks with the yellow leaves. These are a diploid plant. So each stalk, you'll see thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. They're all one plant. We're talking 25 square miles, up to 80,000 years old. We don't know how old. So some of the oldest life on the planet is here in the Great Basin. That's what we need to protect. So when I talk about these technological developments, it's really about replacing the oldest life on the planet with us and our short-sightedness. My people for thousands of years, and I have it on good advice of traditional medicine people, that there's medicine that comes out of these things. And we're seeing it. We're collecting the medicines. We go to other parts of the world and collect those medicines. But we're doing it at a rate which is destroying our environment. So we need to be aware and change how we live and find that balance. So the Creator gave us instructions, the Shoshone people, instructions of how to live in balance and harmony, which is our title to this land here. As I mentioned, it didn't come from the Bible. The United States says that their right to tell us what to do is based on the Bible, and even Jeff Sessions a year ago said, you must obey the laws of the government, Romans 13, when he was Attorney General. The President of the United States says, you can say Merry Christmas again. It's not our custom. It's not our life way. It's not balance and harmony. That's for profit, and that's where we have a problem. Our custom, our tradition is sharing. If you have land, thank a Native American. That is our custom of sharing, and you share our values. And that's important. We're sharing our values, and we want people to engage with that. Our value is not destroying the oldest life on the planet. Another example, some of the water that we have. For Shoshone people, it's pure, pristine water. It's the primal waters that were created from the origin of the planet. In some ways, you can look at nuclear and radiation, the uranium, as also one of those primal elements, and I think it's important to point that out as well. But water, pure pristine water, is what my people need to combat and to deal with the radiation exposure that we've had. Our medicine people told us that the medicine is the water, that the medicine's in the water. And so we have to have that pure and pristine water. And the threat to all of us is the radiation from the technology that we're developing. The proposed repository at Yucca Mountain will be releasing radiation into the groundwater. And I think that's very important to study, continue to study what happened at Yucca Mountain and try to learn from our experiences. At Yucca Mountain, that's where I learned about global climate change in the 90s. The Department of Energy was doing site characterization of the proposed repository at Yucca Mountain, spending billions of dollars on research that gave the site the title, the most studied piece of real estate on the planet. Unfortunately, they did not look at ownership because the Department of Energy, formerly the Atomic Energy Commission, came into Shoshone country in secret and developed these weapons labs without making a claim under the treaty, without telling us what was going on, exposed our people to radiation, and we didn't know until it was too late. Now we're engaged and involved in trying to find ways to mitigate and prevent these things from happening in the future.
Going back to the energy, like what three strategies, policies do you think is the state has to apply in order to accomplish reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030? Like the main ones.
Well, I think we just need to go outside today. We've been shut down, Las Vegas. The sky's bluer. You can see the stars more clearly. If you look just across the valley now, it's closer because all of the dirt that would be in the air is no longer there, and we can see the mountains clearly. We can see the moon and the stars more closely. I think we need to take stock of the global climate change that we have responded to as a result of the coronavirus. And I think we have to assess really what we're going to do to try to keep some of those changes. Nobody expected this, but here we are. I think we've achieved the goals that we expected by 2030. How are we going to keep those? I think really is the question now. Las Vegas has gone bust. It has gone bust. And there's going to be a lot more people hurt. And we need to try to maintain the efficiencies that we've achieved. We're not using as much electricity as we were to survive. And I think that is an important point right there. We're in survival mode right now. We're living today because of the virus the way we need to live to protect and achieve the goals in climate change, to protect our future generations. In the Native American perspective, we always planned for 7 generations. And growing up, we lived by that. You know, I could have been a multimillionaire selling land here in Las Vegas to all of the people that now left because they don't live here. But I could have been a millionaire. That wasn't my value. Protecting the land is. Not selling land is. And that wasn't something that I wanted to do. I do want to protect the land. I do want to protect people. I want to protect our lifestyle, our lifeways, our living lifeways in relation to the land because that's what's important. That's what's important. We need to try to educate ourselves, educate our children this is just so transformative that we have clean air globally in our lifetime. And the youth are the ones who are going to be the ones that need to recognize and remember this. And we don't want to go back. I feel young because that's the way my heart is. I don't want to go back. I enjoy this. I don't enjoy the suffering. I don't enjoy that people are going to be lost, and potentially any one of us could be. So that's the downside. But we're working on those things, and we've made the changes with our environment that we wanted to achieve by 2030. So the question really is, how do we keep those? And all I can tell you is we need to educate ourselves. We need to teach our children. I can't even say, growing up as a child that I had clean air. I know places where there was clean air, but we're able to say something different to the children. Look at our environment.
Just to end, you are part of a big movement called Power Dialogues. You are a speaker as other ones in 52 states of the country and other parts of the world. I know you want to close your intervention with some words to the other people that are going to see your interview and your position.
Well, the Shoshone people have borne the burden of the nuclear age alone, and we're trying to take that experience and educate others that this is a team effort. We've borne the hardest part of U.S. nuclear development, and we attest to that fact that has been a failure for Native Americans. The U.S. nuclear policy is a failure for Native Americans. It is the most costly and expensive way to boil water, and potentially the most catastrophic. Every step in the nuclear chain emits CO2, and I'd like other people in academia, others that study these issues to be aware of the facts. And we need to change that. We need to stop doing that. We have to deal with that waste. It's going to be around, but even that is complicated. I've been going to reactor sites in communities in different states, looking at the issues of people in those communities, and they are dire. The pressure vessels, which are the waste canisters, contain enough radiation to hurt a lot of people. And we're all downwinders in that. So I think that's the most important thing to remember, that no matter where you're at, we're all downwinders, and that's been our experience with nuclear technology. I need their help to end that foolish nuclear gamble and to realize that solar, wind, these types of renewable are the way to go. We don't need to be connected to a grid. We need to have that distributed generation on our rooftops. We need to have windmills where generating energy, where we're going to use it. These types of strategies. I don't like the idea of scraping off huge parts of the oldest life on the planet for technology installations, solar fields, even wind for those purposes. But certainly, nuclear will destroy us. To that, the biggest threat is human-induced global climate change. That would be a nuclear winter. So that's really what I'm trying to prevent, and that's the hardest part of all of this. With that understanding, we can then choose to develop wind and solar more appropriately for our lifeways and protect people like the Shoshone, protect us all from becoming downwinders. And I believe that because of our past experience as downwinders, all Americans need universal health care to follow up everywhere.
That's okay.